Hi, this is Rob Warlow from Business Loan Services and welcome to my Friday Business Finance Bulletin, my weekly roundup of news, tips, ideas and strategies on raising finance and dealing with banks. So what have I got for you this week? Well, we're going to be looking again at late payments and how it's becoming a bit of a political hot potato. We're going to be looking at what the British Business Bank is doing to help business owners get finance if their bank has said no. Crowdfunding, we're going to be looking at a new service by crowdfunding equity provider Crowdcube. And in my business finance tip of the week, a chat with accountant Mike Ogilvie from OBC Accountants based in Eastbourne with some business growth tips for you. So let's start off with late payment. Been really starting to become a political hot potato. The government have really started focusing in on this issue because they know that businesses can't grow when you've got money tied up in late payment. I've mentioned in previous bulletins about the prompt payment code. That's a voluntary code that bigger businesses have been encouraged to sign up to. And what was announced last week, the government has said now for those businesses signed up, they want to be seen to say that 60 days or more is now considered bad practice if you're signing up to contracts. Equally, they also want to start legislating, and from April 2016, if it gets passed, the government wants to see all the businesses signed up to the prompt payment code really adhering to a number of standards and also being very transparent, such that on a 6-monthly basis, they want to see firms saying what their standard terms are, what portion of invoices are being paid late, what portion of invoices are paid up to 30 days, over 60 days, just being a lot more transparent. So a lot of pressure now being put on by government for businesses to make sure they don't get caught up in late payment. Now, a lot of surveys are coming out about this just to demonstrate the pressure that small businesses are under. So a survey just out from the Forum for Private Businesses said that 51% of small businesses surveyed said they're suffering from late payment. Also, 46% of small businesses said they are now feeling powerless when it comes to negotiating with suppliers. Also spotted a survey from the Federation for Small Businesses, and this was really quite surprising about how many businesses are saying now that a large portion of their invoices are now being paid 90 days over terms. In other words, if their standard terms are 30 days, some of them are having to wait an additional 90 days before being paid. So it's a big, big problem. So remember, if you are in negotiations with the bigger firms, do whatever you can to make sure you get very, very tight terms. Now, what about alternative sources of finance? I've mentioned again in previous bulletins that the government is looking to try and legislate that if a bank says no, they have to then refer on to alternative sources to make sure that the business owner at least walks away with an alternative. Well, the British Business Bank, which is an umbrella organisation run by the government, has now put out to tender for online platforms who are acting like clearing houses, centres of knowledge, are now being asked to tender to go on panels where the banks will then have to refer to one of those panel members. So it'll be interesting to see now which organisations put themselves forward as being referral partners. We've already seen examples of RBS and NatWest and Santander already making tie-ups with Funding Circle. So a lot of gathering momentum there now to help business owners who have had a no. So as ever, just watch this space in this bulletin. I'll have more news for that when that service finally becomes live. Now, crowdfunding and equity providers. Now, Crowdcube is an online equity provider, just launched their Sprint program. So they realise that there are many businesses in early stage of raising money via equity that may need some help and support. So they put this Sprint program together, which gives much more hands-on support. And after the program is finished, they get the opportunity to pitch face-to-face in front of investors. Well, that Sprint program has now been formally launched, and it's targeted at early stage businesses looking to raise anywhere between £20,000 and £150,000. They've just had the first successful raise, a company called The Pressery, which produces milk almond products. And they raised £150,000 through the programme in just under 2 hours. So clearly it works. So if you're in early stage and you're looking to raise up to £150,000, just go to the crowdcube.com site and you'll find more information about it there. Now, And my business tip of the week, I had the opportunity to have a chat with Mike Ogilvie of OBC Accountants based down in Eastbourne. I know Mike, and he's also president of the Professional Speaking Association, and so he's a fellow presenter in seminars as we do. So I had a chat with Mike recently, and I just asked him to give us some growth tips that businesses should be looking out for. So let's go to that video now.
So one of the things I'm always asked is, what's the easiest way to increase your profits? And most people focus on the sales, and they say they look to try and increase their sales, or they're trying to increase the number of times people buy from them, and that's great, but the easiest way is to get your price right. And I'm amazed by the number of people who don't understand the relationship between price, margin and discount. So they give away discounts, and what we find with people who decide on using you on price, they also leave you on price. It is really dangerous. So my key message that I give about the easiest way to increase profits is to get your price right in the first place. So if you want to get your price right, you've got to actually do something. So why should they not use you on price? They've got to use you on value. Now, how do they decide on value? Well, if they're going to decide on value, they've got to give you something. You've got to give them something that is, in their minds, different to what the competition do. So you've got to be, what I challenge people to be, is magnificent and dazzling. Be mad, not sad. Satisfactory and dull. So many businesses are satisfactory and dull, and so they focus on doing the ordinary, and they're boring, and the routine is just so routine. There's nothing different about them. So if you want people to talk about you, you've got to give them something positive to talk about. So if you do that, they'll use you not on price, but because you're different and you represent value to them. And finally, make sure that you don't have any profit robbers in your organisation. People think about utility bills, they think about can we shave a penny on that stuff? That's great, but actually the real costs of profit robbers that people don't see, the software like Sage and QuickBooks and Xero don't measure it. They're the things like efficiency. And quite often your team are doing things wrong, but you never ask them, what can you do differently? And they know what they could do differently if they are encouraged. So sometimes I say, why do you do it that way? And the reason is, nobody's ever asked me to do it any differently. So my third tip is, just check what profit robbers you've got in your business, because you'd be amazed what your team know that they could be doing differently, but you never ask them.
So there we are, some great tips from Mike, and I love the idea of the profit robbers. So what are the profit robbers in your business? If you want to know more about Mike and his firm, just go to obcaccountants.com and you'll find more information there. So that's it for this week. Thanks very much for joining me as ever, and if you did find the bulletin of use, please feel free to share it amongst your colleagues and your friends. So that's it for this week. Look forward to being with you again next Friday. Have a great, successful and profitable week. Bye bye now.